Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and others. I'm Robert McBride of All Classical FM. This, don't you know, is Carlos Kalmar, the music director of the Oregon Symphony.
Good evening.
Though last night he was impersonating John Cage at a magnificent Fear No Music event. Anybody here, there? Wow, a lot of people. Great. It was so much fun.
Can I do my lecture again?
And Carlos read John Cage's lecture about nothing and would like to do it again.
Yeah, I am here and there is nothing to say. That's how it starts.
We are now at the point, okay, yeah. That was a really amazing and delightful event last night. And we have something of an event happening tonight. You can see the forest of microphones because the folks from Sound Mirror in Boston are back. They were here to record the Oregon Symphony's first CD, which has been incredibly successful in its second printing now. Classical Millennium has it on the table in the lobby if you want to buy a copy tonight. And it was just announced this week, your recording plans for the second CD and also for broadcast. And I just learned backstage that some of what they're going to record is only for broadcast and some is for broadcast and for CD. So tell us more.
The thing is that, I mean, we were so happy with these folks. They are so great and do such a great job. And ever since we were so successful with the CD of the Carnegie program, we thought, well, we should record something else. And also, I must admit that when I signed a renewal of my own contract here with the Oregon Symphony, there is a provision that says I can do 3 more recordings. And I thought, well, the strange thing is that then it's harder than you think, because we need to record live, which means I can only take something into a recording, a commercial recording, that we actually play on stage. I can't go into a studio and record God knows what comes to mind. I need to do something that we do here. So we looked around, and then we got in contact with Sound Mirror, with John and Blanton, who are here tonight, and they said they can be here. And they will come back this season 3 more times, aside from this one. So as curious as this may sound, after recording the music for A Time of War, which is a lot of English music with some American on the top, we are recording an English music CD. Don't ask me why. It's just, but the fun part of it is, of course, we were very successful with the Carnegie program because it's the Carnegie program. And I'm not saying that we will not be successful with the recording that we are going to do tonight and tomorrow afternoon, but it's interesting, I think, to actually, if I can lobby already for a thing that we didn't even start to produce, to actually own both CDs, because the central piece of the music for A Time of War is Vaughan Williams Symphony No. 4, which is very rude in your face, very dissonant, very brassy. And then you are going to hear tonight's Symphony No. 5, and it's in the opposite corner of what Vaughan Williams is. And that's so interesting, that a guy could write 2 symphonies side by side, 4 and 5, and they are so different in character. And not to forget, another piece that I also have done here on this stage for all of you is No. 6, which is again quite loud, it's not the mellow lyrical Vaughan Williams that you always think he was. So he kind of squeezes in between a symphony that is actually great fun to listen to. I personally think that all the symphonies by Vaughan Williams are fun to listen to, but of course the intensity of No. 4 and the intensity and loneliness of No. 6 can be contrasted by something like No. 5. Now, what we are going to record for commercial purposes, if you will, tonight is the symphonic pieces, meaning the Vaughan Williams number 5 and the Cocaine Overture by Edward Elgar, whereas the piano concerto that we are going to perform with the phenomenal Jeffrey Kahane, he is such a delight, is going to be on the radio. And later this season, the Sound Mirror guys come back and record in part for the radio. And there will be one more piece on the CD, that this English music CD, and that is, God knows, I think in April or May, I forgot. And that is Britain's 4C interludes of the opera Peter Grimes. And we are really looking forward to make that happen. So that's the second CD.
It's in May.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think the 4C interludes, that's SEA, interludes by Britten with the Vaughan Williams 5 on one CD will be just magnificent together. These two guys from two different generations, very important English composers, very different, and those pieces are different. I think they'll be very complementary. Thank you for bringing us Vaughan Williams symphonies. I don't know to what extent his music is better known in England than it is here. I hope it's much better known. Here we think of him as the guy who wrote beautiful short pieces like The Lark Ascending and the Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis. But he wrote nine symphonies, and you're bringing them to us. Thank you.
Well, this is the 4th symphony out of 9 that I'm bringing. I did number 2, I did 4, 6, and now it's 5. And of course, I mean, along those lines, being a conductor who is very, very fond of choral music, I would dream about number 1, which is, such a great piece, the C Symphony with big chorus and 2 soloists. But I mean, whenever I think about big chorus and stuff like that, there are so many pieces that we could actually do. So it's kind of, it's tough to make a choice. But well, now we are here with this program, and I'm very, very happy, and the orchestra is absolutely on top form.
And we get to be here and listen, and then when the CD comes out, listen again. So coughing must be minimized. Coughing. Tonight is the most important night to turn off the cell phones and all that stuff, so that the engineers don't have to
I'm
edit
sure
around
that Elaine will come out
and
do the intro and harass all of you. I mean, I don't know whether because on the Saturday concerts, as you know, I speak from the stage before we start the concert, and I don't know whether I will repeat that, but keep in mind, probably I will say that as interesting as this may be, all 4 movements of the Vaughan Williams 5 end so quietly you can hear a pin drop. There is literally, the sound dissipates. There is no, so in a way, Vaughan Williams 5 is a piece that we conductors, of course, don't like, because there is never this point where you can stand like big brass and cheering crowd and no. It's a very lyrical symphony, and it is actually it has a certain pacing to it. And what I like very, very much is the colorfulness. It's very colorful, the instrumentation at the beginning, and it's a piece that grows on you. When you actually hear it a couple of times, it gets more, I would say, even more interesting. And it's a piece that makes great use of different parts of the orchestra, giving ample chance to several musicians in the orchestra, mainly the 2 horns and the woodwinds, ample chance to shine and to play their soloistic work and so on. The interesting point is, because we both already pointed out, this is a piece that belongs a little bit into the lyrical period of Vaughan Williams, is if you think about the Lark Ascending or the Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis, that music is actually, if I can say so, more pleasant than the one you're going to hear, because it has considerably less dissonance. This is a piece that actually works with dissonance all the time, but doesn't put it too in a way that is too harsh. It's always a very gentle, it's kind of a great melody or a great harmony with a little twist all the time. And that is, I think, one of the charms of the symphony. The other one is that that actually within all the lyricism there is some eeriness in it, mainly in the second movement. It's a very, I would say it's a kind of odd movement because it floats very fast, and then there is this little outbursts of energy that get shut off immediately, and you kind of don't feel all the time this fast pace, and what you sure don't feel is this sense of really one structure only. It's all a little bit jumpy, the music. And because it's very soft-spoken, the entire second movement, with a couple of exceptions towards the end, it gives you... Today when we were rehearsing, and in the intermission, some of us went upstairs to listen to what Sound Mirror was doing, and we talked about the endings to several movements, and our guest concertmaster, whom you, if you are a subscriber, you have already seen. We brought her back, Sarah Kwak, from the Minnesota Orchestra. We talked about the ending of the movements and how the music dissipates. And I said, you know, this dissipating music and the ending in absolutely nothing, especially at the end of the symphony, is kind of strange. And she said, yeah, but it's so English, because I think we Oregonians can relate to that. You go outside into the countryside and there is always this mist and it's foggy and the weather is not really great, but you enjoy the outdoors and you do not see all colors very clear. The colors kind of become shady, foggy, and that is exactly what Vaughan Williams does, and that's how it works.
Oh, that's so interesting and so true. I like it.
Yeah, because the truth is, at the beginning when I started to study this symphony, I like Vaughan Williams, but I had trouble with the ending, because each moment you will see, each movement really has an ending, although it's very quiet. It's this point where you kind of bring the music, whether it's fast or slow doesn't matter, and it's like, wonderful. And at the end of the symphony, I at first didn't feel that, because it travels to a very high pitch, and at first when I studied the symphony, I thought, like, why does he end there? Why doesn't he end 3 bars later or 5 bars earlier? It doesn't really matter. Until I got exactly that point which Sarah was making, which is foggy. Somewhere.
So how would you contrast Ralph Vaughan Williams and Edward Elgar, whose music is also on this concert?
Oh, that is so great it's so great to do 2 great English composers on one program that are so different. Because especially in this piece by Ralph Vaughan Williams, you can, if I may say so, you can hear Sir Ralph Vaughan Williams, always controlled, always well-dressed, always wonderful. And in Elgar, you can hear sometimes even that. He writes in the score in 2 or 3 spots the word nobilmente, which means with grace, meaning there comes the Englishman, and the sound of the orchestra gets a little more mellow, but oh, this is a piece where you can drink pints of ale and hammer the glass on the table and shut the door and misbehave. I mean, it's we did a little research, 1 or 2 musicians and we were talking about what on earth means cocaine. And to just put it in one little sentence, it's the land of plenty. meaning a lot of whatever you think is pleasant in life. Just go there and have it. And that's this overture, although the overture very clearly refers to London. And it's a tribute to the city of London, which Elgar, of course, loved very much. And it's an overture that jokes a lot, has a little here and a little there, and it's very Elgarish. Elgar is a composer that, for an Englishman, we always have this very strange perception that Englishmen are always very well behaved because they speak so, well, I can't make that happen because I have this funny accent in my English, but they speak a certain way and you always sit straight and think like, oh no, is my tie fine? And then you realize Elgar, oh no, he can really be very overly romantic, he can be very funny, he can be very loud. And this is one overture where he does all of it. Actually, what I like about this overture is the contrast that he offers, because very soon in the piece you're going to hear it, he becomes very, it's fast, the piece. It becomes very loud and very like fun, and then he calms down, and then comes this first section that I talked to you about, Nobilmente, where it's more the Englishman, and he plays with that, and he plays again with very soft-spoken, romantic, late romantic English tunes, and it's funny, and then he takes off again, and the brass has a ball in this piece, and actually the orchestra likes it very, very, very much, so do I, and so it's a great way to end a concert, because you hear the term overture, as you probably already know, this is not an overture to something that happened later. There is no opera called Cocaine, or there is no theater. It's just the form is an overture, and for an overture, this piece is really long, because overtures, you know, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. The long ones maybe 9. This one is 14.5 minutes of intense, fun music. And then it ends really big and everybody's hopefully happy.
And then there's Mozart.
Oh, that guy.
Mozart in between, Piano Concerto number 25, Geoffrey Kahane. I've never seen Geoffrey Kahane perform, which kind of surprises me given all the work he's done at the Oregon Bach Festival over the years, but I've just never been there when he has. Big, glorious C major concerto by Mozart, and that means trumpets, timpani, big sound. Why this particular one out of all those great Mozart concertos?
Well, first of all, why not? Secondly, you know, I mean, Mozart wrote a couple of piano concertos, 27. And you know me, I hate to repeat pieces. Within let's say, a 5-year period, you have to really force me. Because I say, no, the audience has already heard it, they need something else. And when we talked to Geoffrey, this is one of the pieces he offered, and I said, like, not even a question. We haven't played 503 at least not since I have been here, so it's time. And that's pretty much the reason.
Geoffrey Kahane is also a conductor, so he will play the piano and conduct at the same time, so he really doesn't need you. Does he?
Well, actually, he was no, he didn't talk about that. I would say, of course, he doesn't need me. But I try to not stay in his way. Now, to be more serious, of course, you can always, with classical pieces of music, Mozart concerti, Haydn concerti, Beethoven, there you can play and conduct. It's that easy. And of course, I know that Geoffrey is also a conductor, although now, from what I know, he's taking up considerably more work on the piano. after completing his tenure as the music director of the Colorado Symphony in Denver, Colorado. And from my point of view, great musician, and I'm so happy that he's back on the piano. Because first of all, it's great to have somebody off the stage as a conductor, or more room for me. Okay, and second, he is just such a great pianist, and is such a really good Mozart player, because the lightness of his touch, the mind that he displays, meaning how he phrases, and he's also a pianist who can here and there improvise a little bit.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Oh yeah.
So he'll be doing a little embellishing.
Also, all of a sudden it comes to mind, okay, this phrase, because it comes from the fifth time, let's do a little something. And I will turn around and smile, and he smiles back.
Nice, that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, so it's very fun. This piece by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the 503, is considered or labeled as the last one of the big piano concerti. There are 12 that are considered the big ones. And it is written, because the two last that he wrote afterwards are kind of a world apart. And this is a piece that he wrote at a time where Mozart was devoting his life actually to something else, mainly to write operas. So the funny thing with having such an experienced musician as Jeffrey, who also is a conductor and who knows pretty much everything about music, is that we, even without telling each other, while we were doing rehearsal and playing, we sometimes looked at each other and said, like, opera, here is Figaro. It's so great. It's a very majestic, the first movement is very majestic, and what is astounding is how many times Mozart actually goes from this majestic C major key into something minor. So the contrast will be there. Also, the way that Mozart uses the orchestra is very symphonic. So the dialogue between Jeffrey and the orchestra is absolutely the key to the success of the piece. And for that, of course, Jeffrey Kahane is just a wonderful player. And we are talking about a time when Mozart, I mentioned Figaro, Don Giovanni, etc. All these operas were kind of in the making, and in a way this is it's the final, it's the ending of an era in the life of Mozart, which is, as we all know, an era that was considerably too short, considering that how many years he lived. But it's for me, it's always so strange to read that Mozart wrote this 12 big piano concerti within a period of, I think, 3.5 years, while he was writing something else too. And one thing that I must tell you about my experience conducting Mozart piano concerti is, admittedly, I am kind of a fan of Mozart. But when it comes to piano concerti, I've conducted not all 27, but I have no idea, half of them, probably, which is a lot. I've never ever found a note that is out of place, and every time I conduct Mozart piano concertis, for me it is the most perfect music there is. It has nothing to do that I do not like the symphonies, but the piano concerti is, even when it is tragic, like C minor 491 or something like that, I am standing there and inwardly I'm all smiles and happy, because it's so great. So I would say you're in for one of the greatest pieces of music, and it's not even so it's not called Elvira Madigan or something like that. It's just a piano concerto.
It don't need no stinking nickname. Two things about Jeffrey Kahane. Be sure you read his bio in your program. It has a couple of very interesting and surprising things in it. And he will be signing CDs after the concert tonight at the Classical Millennium table in the lobby. So you'll have a chance to meet him and support his efforts and maybe buy an Oregon Symphony CD while you're there. Enjoy the concert. Turn off anything that makes noise. We're recording. Carlos Calmer.
Robert McBride.
And you.